What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of STEM with Mr. C. Hey, today is part one of what I like to call dirty money. These two experiments are going to be showing us like how dirty our money really is. And so to do that, we're actually going to grow some bacteria from the money.
Ew, David!
It's going to be really cool. So this lesson is really just going to be, it's less of a lesson and more of just showing you how to prepare your petri dishes. Okay, so we're making little petri dishes. For this experiment, you are going to need your agar powder. Looks like this. Now yours, if you have one of my kits, came in one of these little things right here, one of these little to-go cups. So you're going to need, you have 1 teaspoon in there. That's actually going to make 100 milliliters of solution, and you can actually make 7 or 8 of these. So if you have extra ones, cool. If you don't, any sort of clean container works just fine. We'll talk about that. If you don't have any of the agar powder, you can pick it up. Well, Amazon sells it, Home Science Tools sells it. If you're at Gravenstein and you would like some, let me know, because I have a little bit of it, right, so that for everyone who needs it. So you're gonna need a teaspoon of that. You're gonna need some water. You're gonna need 100 milliliters, and since I'm making a double batch, I'm using 200, but you'll need 100 milliliters of water per teaspoon of agar powder. Okay, you'll need your petri dish or whatever you're using, and then you're gonna need some sort of heat, stove, pot, anything that you can boil water in, okay? So I'm gonna do a little disclaimer here, right? We're doing this in the kitchen. We're preparing these, so this isn't the most sterile place in the world, even though, you know, I've cleaned it. It's just the nature of working in a kitchen or working at home, right? But the less contamination you can bring into it, that means washing your hands, washing the pot, using, if you can use distilled water, that's fantastic. If you can use filtered water, that's even better. If you want to use tap water, that's fine too, right? And that's really all you need. So let's go ahead and get to mixing, and I'm going to show you how to do this. Here we are. So I have my, you're going to have 100 milliliters, but I have 200. I'm going to pour it in my pot. Now I did wash my pot out with hot water. I scrubbed it with soap. I dried it with a clean paper towel. So I'm trying to eliminate any contaminants in here that's going to affect my petri dishes. Understand that I can't get rid of all of them right here just because I have a kitchen, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and pour it in here. So you pour your water in, then go ahead and take your agar powder, and since I'm using 200 milliliters, I'm using 2 scoops. So now you'd be using 1 scoop, there's 1. You're using 100 milliliters, and I have 2. Now you're gonna go ahead and stir that around. You're gonna mix it together, and then you're gonna go ahead and you're going to turn your stove on. And this stuff has an interesting smell to it. All right, so now this 100 milliliters, this will make you about 7 to 9 regular petri dishes. Now, because you guys are using these pretty cool takeout cups, you can make a little bit more. So if you would like more of these, I've got at least 500 of them. So I can definitely give you more. I wanted to start you out with 1 just to see how that would treat you. And so now we just play the waiting game of waiting for our powder and our solution to boil. So you notice I'm still stirring. You really want to make sure it's really dissolved, right? And you don't want any little clumps in there. It's pretty easy to dissolve, but keep stirring while it's warming up and while it's boring. It is boring to watch this boil while it's boiling. All right, so we are going to switch over to a time lapse, and you're going to see this happen right before your eyes. So here we go. All right, so you're going to notice that this is starting to boil, and you can really see that powder kind of turns into a little bit of a jelly, like a gelatin, right? And I want to keep stirring this All right, I don't want to let it burn, so I'm just going to stir it, stir it, stir it. Keep it stirred. And once it's boiling, so that is boiling, right? And you can see it. So I am happy with that. So I'm going to stir it a couple more times. And then what we're going to do is we are going to turn it off. Okay, we don't want to overboil it, so look at that, it's getting hot. And let's turn it off. And now I'm going to remove it from the heat. So keep it off that heat. We're still going to stir. Still going to stir it up. Keep stirring. We got a little bit of a, definitely changed consistencies, all right? Still a liquid, but it's a little gummy, which is what we want. All right, so now what we want to do is we need to let this cool a little bit. We don't want to pour it directly into our hot plastic. So I have my petri dishes here. These could probably take it, they're still a little thin, but if you pour this hot solution here into one of these cups, it's going to deform the cup and melt it, right? It won't look as, won't be good, you won't be able to get the cover on. So give it a little bit, give it about 10 minutes to really cool down, all right? Because this stuff, right, water boils at 100 degrees Celsius, or for you Fahrenheit folks, 212 degrees Fahrenheit. So this water is about 200 degrees, and that is enough to seriously burn you and make short work of thin plastic. So, here we go. So when we come back, all right, we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna let this cool down. Just let it cool on your stovetop, remove it from the heat, right? Stir it every once in a while. And when we come back, I'm gonna show you how we're gonna pour this into our petri dishes. Hey everybody, so I'm set up here and I have my petri dishes. Now again, you may have a petri dish at home like this, or you may have the to-go cups. These work just fine. The instructions are the same. Obviously this is a little smaller, so it's gonna use less. Use less solution. But what we're gonna do is I transferred mine, my agar solution to a measuring cup just because it's gonna be a little easier for me to pour. Now I made sure I washed it out with hot water and soap, dried it with a clean paper towel, so I'm sure, or I feel pretty good about not having any weird contamination in here. All right, so once you're ready, and I've taken the temperature, it's only about 110 degrees. So again, it's not gonna burn me, it's not gonna feel pleasant if it gets on me, but not enough where it's gonna burn anything. So go ahead and take the lid off of one of your petri dishes, and you're just gonna pour just enough to cover the bottom, and then immediately put that cover back on, okay? Same thing, pour it just so it covers, there we go, and then repeat. Okay, so that's what we have right there. And of course I made a little bit more, and if you have a little drip there on the top, that's fine, don't worry about that. And so now you're gonna let these cool, right? So what you wanna do, let them cool before you put them in the fridge, okay? Now, your petri dishes will last about 3 months. Yeah, anywhere from 2 to 3 months in the fridge, right? Now, when you store them, right, you'll see these solidify, and I'm gonna show you, we'll let them solidify, and I'm gonna show you how to store them in the fridge. You can store them anywhere on the counter if you want, but it's better in the fridge. It'll keep them nice and chilled. Okay, when we come back, I'm gonna show you what they look like, and I'm gonna show you how to store your petri dishes. Okay, so we're back, and all of my petri dishes are done, and you'll notice if you watch it, you'll actually see it doesn't take a lot of time for the agar solution to turn into a gel, right? Well, that's what we want. So I'm just going to show you, and I just poured these, and it's a little shaky, right? These ones are, you can see it starting to like wobble there, and the ones I did previously, these ones are not going to go anywhere. Those are stuck. All right, look at that. You can kind of see upside down. Now I'll open them up real quick, and there's your gel right there. Doesn't look like anything, right? Well, that's what we want, right? Should have a little yellowish tinge to it. So now, where do we put these? What do we do with them? Where do we store them? Well, you can put them in your fridge. Now, when you store them, couple tips. One, store them upside down, okay? Don't worry, they're not gonna fall out. The reason we do that, you notice I've got some, looks like a little fog right there, right? My condensation. Well, we don't want any condensation or moisture to drip on our agar powder, because when we do that, it's gonna contaminate what we have here, especially when we start growing bacteria. So make sure you store them upside down. All right, for my folks that have, and I just poured one here, one of your takeout counters, you don't need to snap the lid on tight. One, these lids are, if you haven't noticed, kind of a pain to get on, okay? You do get a really nice seal, which is great. So you don't need it all the way on. And actually it's better if you don't, because number two, we don't want it to be airtight in there. We want some air getting in there. And the fridge is fine, especially when we start growing bacteria. We do want to make sure we have some oxygen getting in there. So let's go ahead, I'll show you. Get a little peek at my fridge here. And so I'm going to take one of my petri dishes, take this one here, and we're going to go into my fridge. Hello, all my coupons fell off. And I'm just gonna store it upside down here, right next to the Go-Gurt and pineapple chunks. Seems like a great place to put it, and all my coupons keep falling off. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and store the rest of my petri dishes in there, because I'm gonna do a couple experiments. When we come back next week for Dirty Money Part 2, I'm gonna try some different bills. I'm gonna try maybe a $1 bill, $5, $10. I'll try some coins. And you can kind of see the different bacteria growing. I'm gonna get coins and bills from different places. And we're just gonna see how dirty our money really is. Now, because, where is my little one here, right? So if you made 100 milliliters of this stuff, it probably filled up more than this, right? And that's really all you need to fill up. See that line right there? Just covering the bottom. You don't need a lot of it. So if you have more containers that you'd like more, you can actually make more petri dishes. And then you can actually experiment on your own, right? You can maybe swab the doorknob or your cheek or under the couch or your shoes, and you can kind of see what bacteria you can grow. For here, we're just going to be doing money, but once you do money with us, and you have 4 petri dishes left over, and you say, I want to grow some bacteria, absolutely, go ahead and do that. I will tell you, please be careful when you are growing bacteria. One, it's not a toy, don't touch it, don't breathe it, don't eat it, don't do anything like that. Don't mess with anything with the bacteria. I'll show you how to dispose of it after we come back. It'll probably take a week or 2 to grow, so when we come back, you'll see what happens. Number 2, please don't do anything involving poop.
Ew, David.
That includes dog poop, that includes cat poop, that includes your own poop. As in, like, I don't need to say it, okay? One, it's kind of gross. And number 2, there are some very dangerous bacteria that come from dog and cat poop, and especially your own poop. Bacteria that you really don't need. And I really don't want you messing around with, okay? So I always love the question, what happens if we touch the bacteria and we eat it, okay? Well, I don't really know. It all depends on the bacteria you're growing, okay? Nothing good is going to happen, I'm gonna tell you that, okay? None of the bacteria we're growing is gonna be good, and we're not making any sort of antibiotics here or anything. So really it's just to look at and go, wow, that's really gross. And maybe we can identify a few of them, and then we dispose of them properly and we throw them away. We don't keep them. Okay, join me next week. I'm gonna show you how to swab the money, how to take care of it, how to put it on the agar plate. It's not gonna take very long. And then when we come back on our third one, we're gonna check the growth of Mr. C's, and we're gonna see what kind of bacteria I grew. Okay, enjoy, and I'll see you guys next week for some more STEM with Mr. C. Bye.